Hi all, this is Skate, and this is the Tier 7 British turreted tank destroyer, the Challenger. And I was going through some stuff the other day, and I noticed I hadn't really played this tank much, and then I realised, oh, I never actually made a video on this tank. I may have skipped it a little bit to get to the Charioteer quite quickly, because at the time it was just fantastic. It's still a very good tank now, even nerfed, but I wanted to play it quite quickly at the time, so I may have skipped the Challenger a little bit. And I may not have done a video because I forgot as a result. So, better late than never, Challenger video. When I first played this tank, I didn't actually rate it too highly, especially when you go up a tier and you went to that absurdly broken Charioteer. And this thing didn't feel all too exciting. In fact, I categorise it as merely meh. That being said, I went back, revisited the tank. And the first thing I did was take off the 32-pounder and go back to the 17-pounder stock gun. The difference is quite simply, with the top gun, 220mm of penetration, which is way more than adequate at that tier, with 250 alpha. But that gave you 2,226 damage per minute. If you go back to the stock gun, 171mm of penetration, which again is absolutely fine at tier 7, but look at that rate of fire and that perma-track ability. Combine that with the 160 alpha, it gives you 2,714 damage per minute. It's also got 0.27 gun dispersion, in comparison to the bigger guns, 0.31. It's also got a 25% quicker aim time than the top gun. And I think this is entirely where I was going wrong. It's on a medium chassis. It's got a turret. I treated this thing like a medium tank, and with the top gun, you could take some respectable bites out of other medium tanks, but I was finding I was getting wiped out quicker than I wanted to. Going back to this gun, however, it very much reminded me of the E25 gun. And in fact, when playing this thing, I play it like an E25 with the turret, and in doing so, it completely brought a new light to the tank for me. Because with that rate of fire, that accuracy, at long range, this tank absolutely sings. And then you've got to remember, it's got 10 degrees of gun depression. Putting this thing in a position to use that DPM and that sort of accuracy just makes this thing phenomenal. I mean, look at that T29 earlier. Just perma-tracked. Nothing the guy could do in the slightest to get away from me. When you play this thing a bit closer, though, you've got the issue of its armor being shockingly appalling. And on top of that, look how tall the turret is above the gun. All of that has got to come out before the gun exposed. So you leave yourself vulnerable every time. Granted, it's got that lovely 10 degrees of gun depression. But popping all that weakness out beforehand, it can be a bit annoying. Especially when you consider it only has 51mm of frontal turret armor. To put it in perspective, I came up against a Challenger the other day and I was in an ISU 152. Granted, it's an ISU 152. But I killed it from full hit points, all 1,000 of them, with HE through the top of the turret while he was trying to use his gun depression. He wasn't happy, I'll say that, but it highlighted another thing for me on how weak the top of the turret is on this thing. And I don't mean to the roof, by the way, I mean straight through the front of what looks like the aircon unit. It's not, but that's what it reminds me of. So if you played this thing and just did not enjoy it in the slightest, and you were using the top gun and also doing the same mistake as me and treating it like a medium, go back, put the stock gun on, and play it like an E25. Thing is, I did actually play the stock gun when I first got this tank as well. But, again, I was pushing way too aggressively because it feels like a medium almost, so you end up treating it like a medium. But the trick really is to play support or play the long-range game in this thing, because you've got the accuracy to do it very, very reliably. The negative, by the way, of using the stock gun is against tier 8 heavy tanks, especially the recently buffed Tiger 2, you can seriously struggle to penetrate it. And this is where I struggled a little bit in this match, because I only carried 10 rounds of APCR with this gun, which gives you 239mm of penetration. I waste a few trying to reset the cap during this game. And I completely screw up at the start of this game. So I end up playing it very reserved, very safe, for as long as I could during this match. But I think this is a nice example of when you screw up a game quite badly early on. I mean, look, we're already a minute in, and I have done a grand total of 0. But I still think it's a nice game worth viewing, because it's one of those games where it goes horribly wrong, and you end up pulling it back. Just about, but you do end up pulling it back. And I honestly think that's thanks to the accuracy on this gun, and thanks to the DPM, which allowed me to do that. Now, at this point in time, I've just dropped my adrenaline. I want to try and deal with this T-34. And we do, but look at my hit points already. That's one shot to pretty much every tank on the enemy team, and I am dead. So I do have to play it very, very careful, and now I have to play the support role. And the moment where I absolutely waste all my premium ammunition is coming up momentarily. Like I said, I only carried 10, and when you think it's a very fast-firing gun, you could kind of do with a couple more than 10. So, kind of on my head, there's 2 APCR rounds down, there's 3 APCR rounds down. I'm going to lose credits in this one, by the way. The rest of my APCR shells, I'm going to try and put into the hatch of the VK100, which is capping from this long range. Doesn't sound like a very viable, good plan. However, look at the cap. Something's got to be done. I'm going to try at least. I can't really run in there because I'm going to die, but that's 2 on his hatch and both have bounced. Next one misses. I'm kind of just burning the credits. I even decided, screw it, I'm going to the HE. It makes no difference whatsoever. I cannot penetrate the tank even to cause 1 damage. There we go. 1 in the side of the hatch. But this is an absolute waste of APCR potentially. But the way you've got to look at it is, I can either do this and try and survive and sacrifice a couple of credits as a result, or I could go in, die, and then be a big fat waste anyway. I can't believe I actually survived this one, to be honest with you. But in this circumstance, like I said, we lost everything in terms of hit points very, very early on. I'd rather lose a couple of credits and try and pull it back. I mean, the game's not over yet. We are still up on tanks. Granted, I can't really call myself a tank at this point, more of a walking one-shot. And I'm not really alone in that regard. When you look at my team, they are pretty low hit points as well. And the enemy, well, they've got a VK100 on pretty reasonable hit points and plenty of armor. They've got a Lerva on plenty of hit points, again plenty of armor, especially against this gun. And they have an IS-3 Defender on more than ample hit points. The observant among us would have noticed by now I have only done less than 1,000 damage. But I'm still alive, which means there is still a gun in the game. I've just done over 1,000 and we have managed to take out a pretty dangerous tank. Now, again, one of my team players on a one-shot, and there is a Lerva chasing him. So my aim here is basically to cause a distraction, which hopefully allows him enough time to get away. Or, while he's distracted dealing with the other one, I can at least get some damage into the Lerva. Which we do get 3 shots in. I'm not an idiot. If I sat there, he'd come back and shoot me within that time frame. So, it's time to help this guy. And we're going to do so by trying to pummel some shots into the side of the IS-3 Defender. And at this point in time, we should be completely unspotted. In my next couple of shells, I am going to end up getting spotted. But this IS-3 Defender is thankfully so preoccupied on the tank in front of him, it's almost like he's ignoring me. Obviously, though, if that Lerva then rocks up on this corner, I am in so much trouble. So, my big job now is to try and get this guy out before the Lerva comes in, or at least help out that guy so he survives. Again, while making sure we keep an eye where the tier 8 German heavy tank is. And there it is, and there I go backing up. He did finish the Tiger 1 though, which leaves the IS-3 Defender free. And I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place situation because both those tanks are on either side of me. But I have mobility in my favour on this tank. And again, it's a nice part of this tank. I got one APCR shell left. We're going to make it count. And we finished off the IS-3 Defender, just leaving us to deal with Mr. Liver. No idea where the other friendly tank on my team is at the moment, so I'm just going to have to use the mobility to get away from him as best I can. Now, I mentioned the mobility. I still don't have the mobility to try and circle this tank. The Lerva is a surprisingly mobile heavy tank. I've got no hope of circling that guy. So when I say mobility, it's mobility to get away and hide behind a rock. I can play chicken with him around this rock. He can't chase me. But if I tried to circle him, yeah, in this tank he would really deal with me no problem at all. So there's no point risking that. And the other logic you've got to look at is, well, while I'm here, in theory, my tank could roll along and help out. In theory. I just got to play it safe. It's the only option I've got. And at this point in time, although I haven't done massive amount of damage, I honestly think if we died early on like we thought we would have, I don't think we would have won this game. So, just shy of 3,000 damage. And it gets us a cheeky mastery. And I was very happy with that because it was predominantly firing at tier 8 tanks, a lot of heavy tanks. And there's no point sugarcoating it. I completely fudged that one up right at the start of the game. But we pulled it back, and at least we were useful in some shape or form. So yeah, Challenger, if you performed bad in it, or you just did not enjoy it, do what I did. Go back, try playing a little bit more long range, and try playing with that 17-pounder. Also a fun note, you could spam nothing but APCR in the 17-pounder and still have higher DPM than you would with the 32-pounder. Obviously you don't want to go spamming APCR because that's silly and pointless, but a perspective for you. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.